in our travels. I'm Rosie.
And I'm Charlie.
And in this video, we're gonna go over
Vietnam, baby!
So our impressions of Vietnam were, well, just absolute chaos. It's what you expect from any of the movies that you've seen. It's way more manic than Bangkok, and that is literally saying something. But it does give you everything that you need. So like city life, beach life, in the middle, nowhere life. Yeah, it's got all of it.
Mountains.
Yeah.
Rivers.
Yeah.
Lakes.
Yeah.
All of it.
All of it. So the main places that we went when we went to Vietnam is obviously you go to Ho Chi Minh and you go to Hanoi, massive cities full of life. You then also have Hoi An, which is a little bit more chill, but it's got obviously the tourism factor because it's very, very pretty. And then you've got the small towns of Da Nang and Hue, which are totally underrated in our opinion.
So, as UK citizens, we were allowed 15 days visa exemption free. Unfortunately, it didn't work well for us, as when we went to extend our visas after spending around 13 days in the north of Vietnam, we went to the main immigration office and it was mayhem. They didn't really help us and told us to go away to a travel agent. We found one. Luckily, the travel agents were great, but they wanted us to do a visa run into Laos, which would have cost a lot of money to spend 3 minutes in Laos, and we'd just come from there. So what we did the second time, we left the country, we came back and we got an e-visa.
The e-visas came to $25 per person, and the process of getting that e-visa is fairly simple. All you need to do is click on the website, go through a few details, pay, then you'll get it in about 3 to 5 days. In my personal opinion, I would probably say if you're going to use the 15-day visa exemption, just be prepared that you're going to have to exit the country somehow. So if you're going to do that, either go into Laos or into Cambodia, spend a bit of time there to then join back into Vietnam and use the 30 days.
Also, get a passport index to check.
So before arriving in Vietnam, I read that Viettel was the best phone company to use in Vietnam. So when we got to Hanoi airport, we found a small stall that offered these 30 days. We got 2 of them and it came to about £23 for the 2 of us.
The second time we arrived in Vietnam, we arrived by bus instead of air, and we came straight into Ho Chi Minh City. So you don't get what you get at the airports, the stalls that sell you all the SIM cards with big deals. Luckily, we went for a really good bus service, so when we arrived, they had a small little shop that done their own SIM cards. The cost of these 2 30-day SIM cards we bought the second time came to 480,000 dong. We'll put the translation on the screen. Vietnam is a very cheap country and it's relatively similar to Laos. You can do it on a very small budget or you can like splash out the same as any country we went to. Accommodation can be a little bit more expensive in Vietnam, but generally it's more modern and can be a little bit nicer than the places you have in Laos.
Everyday transport like Grab motorbikes are very cheap, so they are the best transport we would suggest doing. And then in terms of long journeys, you're looking at paying around the same amount of money as Thailand. So for example, when we went from Hawaii to Hanoi, we paid about £34-ish. And then when we flew from Dalat to Da Nang, we paid about £54. £57.
Also, I think when we were in Vietnam, the conversion of money, it changes all the time, but roughly for us it was about 28,000 dong to £1 British pound.
So when it comes to time, personally, I feel like whatever you're going to do just will not feel enough. So we ended up having 36 days in Vietnam, so we used the 15-day visa exemption and then our 30-day visa, and we could have happily added on at least a month. All 6 locations that we went to, so like I said, Hanoi, you've got Hue, Hoi An, Dalat, and Ho Chi Minh.
And Hai Giang.
And Hai Giang, most definitely. So all of these places are really worth going to, and that's why you should really take the time to dedicate Vietnam as much as possible.
I think we say this in every video though. You say that for every country.
But Vietnam more so.
The main mode of transport, as everyone kind of knows in Vietnam, is motorbikes or mopeds.
Fun fact, in 2020, a statistic was made based on the ratio from cars to motorbikes on the road in Vietnam. It actually came to 27-1, which is shocking because the year before it was double that.
Yeah.
Madness.
Rosie and I wouldn't recommend riding a bike in Vietnam, but that's just because we're wimps. I mean, do it if you're good, why not? But it's not the place to learn. If you've had prior experience in the West, sure, but it is going to be a bit of a culture shock riding on the road and
getting used to the rules.
Getting used to unwritten Vietnamese rules, which no one says, but everyone knows.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say if you're going to do any riding, places like Hue and Da Nang are the best places.
They're a lot more chill.
A lot more chill. You don't want to start doing it in places like Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi that are...
Yeah, it might just be a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
The conditions of like the roads and that are generally really good in Vietnam. However, from like a pedestrian standpoint, trying to cross the road is mental. We thought, like in our first video, we said about not being able to cross the road in Bangkok, but when you're in Bangkok, at least when you're in the road, cars will slow down. Like they might not want to, but they will. Whereas in Vietnam, that doesn't happen. You've just got to keep going. What we learned was it's kind of walk with confidence, but sometimes it's just immediate stops, then wait, then stop, then wait, just to cross the road. But that's just part of it. You kind of get it. Be there for a couple of days and you'll learn to just commit and cross the road.
Yeah.
Also, with the roads, you will have to learn to cross and walk in them anyway, because the pavements aren't for you to walk on. They are for people to put their shops, their chairs and their restaurants on. So the pavements will not be clear and you will not be able to just walk on the side of the road. You'll have to weave in and out the whole time.
Yeah. I love it. So in terms of the weather, it depends on where you go and when you go. Unsurprisingly, most areas will be largely hot. However, in mountainous areas like Dalat and Haijan, it gets pretty chilly, so make sure that you're either bringing clothes to keep you warm or buying them when you're out there. And weirdly, Hanoi is the only place where it will have 4 seasons, and we, lucky enough, were there for summer and winter. It's a bit chilly today.
Coats and fleeces.
We're in coats and fleeces. The best time to go to Vietnam is February and March because the weather is a little more settled.
Vietnam took us by surprise with the fact that it was a lot harder to communicate with people because they didn't speak as much English as places such as Thailand and Laos. Further north you go, places like Hanoi, you can get by, it's a big city, but they're still very hard to have a conversation. However, you go further south and go down to places like Ho Chi Minh City that are larger on tourism or have a bigger tourism economy. It is easier to have a conversation in English rather than smiles, nods and pointing.
When it comes to washing, you will find that laundry shop services or hotel services will be your best bet. If you're someone like us and you're lucky enough to have an Airbnb that has one free of charge, then you're absolutely winning.
After all of this and saying you should have all this time for Vietnam, even if you have a small amount of time, definitely do it. It's a place that you can always go back to, and we definitely will do. It's one of the places that you just scratch the surface. There's so much to do and you can have so many different experiences, whether you want to be hiking, chilling by the beach, exploring rural communities or having that city life. It has it all, so make sure your next trip you involve Vietnam. Yeah?
So if you would like any extra information, all you need to do is find our playlist and we've got multiple videos for you, or you can go to our website and we've got a blog just for you with all the information for itineraries and things to do.
Or drop us a question in the comments and we'll answer it there.
That is the end of the video and we will see you next week.